Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to another bar by bar analysis here on my channel. Today is March 22nd, 2022, and I'm excited about today's video. I downloaded some video editing software. It'll help make these videos go by a lot quicker for some people, make them more digestible, so that people don't have to sit through really long videos. So we're going to get right into it today. Market opened at 8:30. There we had an uptrend pushing prices pushing above EMA, and then we had a little bit of consolidation here at the top, so I had a range drawn in. But when I came in today, this morning, I saw we had a slight short-term trend up with a break, and we can expect possible attempt to make a new high, as well as testing these higher levels of the overnight highs. So starting with a new low, first entry short, second entry short. These the next bar printed prices worked down before reversing and finishing high. This was an aggressive trade that some people could have gotten in on. I personally didn't get in on it, but that's a trade that some people could take trying to go long. And people scalp out. And for those that have a runner, prices continue to go higher. Now there is an uptrend working because we had a break new high and then prices continue to work higher. And so what are we looking at? We're looking at potential moves to the long side just because we had this big uptrend, and we could see a continuation of that, or we could see prices reverse and come back to overnight lows. But past few days we've been trending somewhat up, so we can anticipate that's what we're going to be looking at. Higher low potentially. Some people could have viewed this as well as a breakout pullback. You break out of this little short term, this range that we have, pull back for a higher low, prices holding above EMA. That's another aggressive entry you could take as long as you have enough room to the highs here, which I think people do. Um, there's not a second entry long here, but that would be the safer option, is waiting for a second entry long to set up. Prices trigger, people would have been in this trade. Prices come back down before definitely getting that scalp of people that entered here. No second entry long with a good signal bar that shows up. We do have a second entry long, but the signal bar is terrible. That's how I should say it. New high, first entry long, second entry long, but terrible signal bar. We do have a break looking for a new high of this uptrend, and we're continuing to push higher. We kind of get rid of this idea of potentially staying in a range. EMA is angling nice and strong towards overnight highs, so we could be looking at a bigger pattern here. And as we continue to make new highs, I adjust the channel as such. Price is pushing high. We have a new high, first entry long, and it takes off without us. New high here at the top. First entry long up to EMA. Second entry long, but the close is below the EMA. Not looking to go long here. I'd be interested in taking a higher low, if anything, to reach break and new extreme. Looking for this new extreme of this uptrend at play here. But unfortunately, you don't really get an entry there. First entry, second entry below EMA. I would take a higher low though. We have new low, first entry short, second entry short, but the bar is very big bearish. Not looking to go short, but if anything, looking for a higher low opportunity to try and go long. Immediately prices close above EMA, but EMA is kind of starting to flatten out just a little bit. While this is a higher low, it is, I would argue, slightly aggressive only because the EMA is starting to flatten out. People would have been in this trade, and eventually it does make that scalp. That being said, we have new high, first entry long, prices pull back for a second entry long. This is another aggressive setup that people could take. And the only reason I say it's aggressive is because the EMA is starting to flatten out just a little bit, and we have to be cautious. We could be entering a range here. People would have been in this trade, and it does make that scalp. Again, it's aggressive, but the reason I mark it is just because prices are holding above EMA, and while they're consolidating a little bit here at the top, We had this big bearish bar anticipating prices were going to pull back to these overnight highs, and they didn't. This next bar immediately printed nice bullish closing above EMA, and prices kind of play out they stall just a little bit before they get that scalp. We have a new low first. Where is that first? Oh yeah, first entry short here. Prices pull back up to our second entry short, but we're not looking to go short after all of this price action pointing upward. We are still looking for that new high, but this could also be seen as a potential double top, but too risky to go short. So I'm not going to mark it. It never triggers. Prices continue to hold above EMA. And what kinds of trades are we looking for? Well, we could be looking for second entry longs or failed second entry shorts. Prices push up and out of this slight trading range we had. And some people could even argue it probably extended just a little bit. Prices pull down below EMA, above, back down, and then it holds above EMA before prices continue rallying upwards. And as we continue to make higher highs, we have to ask ourselves, could we have a bigger uptrend at play? Could we potentially have something bigger at play? So we put in some channels, some potential channels, and we see what happens as prices play out. The other thing we could mark is this potential trend line at play. Prices holding somewhat neatly with a break, looking for a new high. And we got that new high here. New high, prices coming down for a first entry long. And if we can get a nice second entry long, that would be great, but we don't end up getting one. Again, a lot of first entries that just take off without us. But if prices can come back down for a higher low, that would benefit us. That would be a trade we want to go into. Unfortunately, we don't really get a good setup. New high, first entry. Now we have a conflicting beliefs here. Either a trigger above will give us a second entry long, or trigger below will give us a second entry short. We get the second entry long trigger, and prices continue to take off. What we can see is that trend line is holding. This channel is holding. Price is fitting as neatly as we can make them, and we continue to make new highs. So we have that double top. First entry long, prices coming down. Second entry long, but indecision bars. We've got one doji bar and another bar that's pretty neutral. New high, first entry long, and with prices overlapping, I'm hesitant to go second entry long. I want prices to pull back to the EMA or even this trend line a little bit more before we go long. Some people would have been in this trade. We also have a new low first entry short, second entry short, but you're above EMA, you're not looking to go counter trend. And prices fall through first entry long, looking for a second entry long to trigger. Here's a signal bar. If prices trigger above, we want to see how prices react at EMA before we take any additional trades, because we had this uptrend at play, clear break with a short-term trend working down. I want to see how prices are going to react here at EMA. We have a new low, first entry short. We're looking for prices to come up above EMA and come back down for a second entry short failure so that we can ride the price action back to new highs. And unfortunately it never comes down. And this was a trade that I ended up taking today, and there's a live video of this on my channel, so definitely take the chance to go and see exactly what my thought process was through this. But I was looking for a failed second entry short to go back long. New low, first entry short, and this signal bar right here missed that short by a tick. If we had gotten a failed second entry short on this bar, I would have gone long on this bar. I would have entered up at the top and I would have gotten a scalp, but we didn't get it because it didn't tick below this previous bar. So there is a moment of correction where prices come back. And the other thing I noticed here, I had this short-term trend line working up like this with a break and new high. So this is the bar that I entered on. I entered on an engulfing bar. Some people entered after the bar had already finished. So I took a bit of a safer entry by pulling my order back to where I thought the signal bar was supposed, where I hoped that the signal bar was going to trigger. Um, but again, that analysis is in the live video that I have posted on my channel. We do have a new high for this overall uptrend with that break and new extreme. Prices are holding neatly within this channel before getting a break and prices pushing below EMA. We have a new high looking for a first entry long. And at this point, what are we thinking, right? We had an uptrend at play with a break and new high. So we're looking for prices to reverse, if they're even going to reverse. But at this point in the day, we had a lot of price action working above EMA. We could continue to push higher. So at this point in time, we kind of just have to see how prices react at EMA and wait for a solid setup to present itself. New high, first entry long, prices come back down. And second entry long, prices still a little bit far from EMA. We want prices a little bit higher, and we would want a nice bearish bar to continue short, but we don't get that. This bar is kind of indecision, a little bit indecision, not the best signal bar. I would personally want a lower high. Prices come down and people are in this trade right now, and then it comes back up and it stops people out. That's exactly why a signal bar is very important, because this bar could be trying to push bearish, but last minute you could get a little bit of bullish momentum, and it took a little bit of time, but people would have been stopped out on this trade. So we got to be very careful about those lower highs, and specifically we need to have a good signal bar when we're entering something like that. New low, we also have a short-term trend working up, break, new high. So we have a first entry short, second entry short below the signal bar, but not a good signal bar. This one is where we'd want to enter. So as it's forming, we would want to enter when it triggers below this bar, right? Once it triggers below this green bar, that's where we're going to want to enter, but only after we've had a nice bearish signal bar that presents itself to go short. So that's a good trade to take. Break with a new high and prices push down. Depending, yeah, you would have been in this trade for maybe a second or two as these bars printed, but by this bar you would have scalped out. And you also have this downtrend, this channel at play working down with a break, and new low is made by literally a tick or two. Let's see. Yeah, by about 2 ticks. You have that new low. What does that mean? That means this downtrend is played out and prices are supposed to, we expect them to push higher. As prices, we want to see how they react at EMA. Prices push above EMA for a first entry short. And unfortunately, we don't get a failed second entry short long, even though that's what we're trying to look for. If prices continue down below EMA, we just have to ride that. But we are anticipating for prices to push back up above EMA. That being said, we have a new high, first entry long, second entry long. The signal bar isn't that great. We're also closed below EMA. That's not a trade worth taking, especially because we could still be in a downtrend. So we're not looking to go long. We also have a new low, first entry short. Prices pull back for a second entry short. But again, there's a little bit of indecision. If you can also see, we also somewhat have a bit of a range here, right? Prices aren't necessarily strongly pushing below the EMA like we anticipate or want them to, until we get more data and see, okay, prices are continuing to push down. We do have a short-term trend with the break move to a new low. Slight double bottom here before prices continue to push. And as we continue to push lower, what we have to do is find that bigger trend at play. Could it be something like this? We have to make sure prices are holding as neatly as we can. We could have had a break and move to a new low with additional lows. New low, first entry short. This is a very bearish bar. If this triggers below, it could suck traders to the short side. I would be hesitant to go short because of the uptrend that we had throughout the day, catching up to this 200 EMA that's been pushing up as well. I'm hesitant to go short here. First entry short, second entry short. It is a nice signal bar though. We do, if you have a short-term trend here, drawn in, we do have a break of that and a new high by a tick. It's an aggressive trade. I think it's a little bit too late to enter the short-term trend, but if prices continue to move down, um, let's see, if we extend this channel just a little bit, if you had a channel drawn in like this, drawn off the first swing, and this might be the correct way to do it, first entry short, second entry short, that looks like a less aggressive trade. And next bar prints, and that would have been a solid trade. So again, depending on how you have that channel drawn, I think when I readjusted it, it looked better because the downtrend hasn't played out yet. Prices are pushing down. Uh, Prices are somewhat respecting the EMA as we come closer and closer. So you would have scalped out on that if you entered before prices reverse back above EMA. And this is why I'm thinking maybe we did have break and move to a new low before prices came back up and started making higher lows to push back above EMA. So we got two kind of ideas here. I don't think we'll know for sure until we get more price action. But prices push strongly above EMA here. So we try and find the trend line that's actually at play. Break new high, looking for prices to reverse below EMA now that this uptrend has played out. New high. First entry long, prices push above EMA. New low. First entry short, second entry short failure. This is a great bar to go long on. And this is one that you would have to take. Based on the analysis, we have prices pushing strongly above EMA. Overall, the day has been an uptrend. We have a new low, first entry short, second entry short failure at EMA, and prices would have sucked people in and it would have stopped people out. That's an unfortunate trade. I think that I would have entered on this trade. That being said, I'm noticing right now the time is like about 12:40. By this time, it's almost 1 o'clock. I would have been done trading by now. But the other thing I'm noticing is with this uptrend, you have a break new high. The uptrend has played out. We're looking for prices to reverse below EMA. We don't necessarily get that. As soon as prices pushed below EMA and immediately came back up, we should have been thinking range, right? Prices push below EMA and immediately come back up after an uptrend played out. So if you're going long at the high of the move here, that's going to hurt you. And I was probably moving a little bit too fast I was thinking too fast through that one, but that definitely would have been a loss. I would have been sucked into that trade. And as prices continue to work up throughout the day, it looks like it's ranging above and below EMA. So this trading range was probably correct and we're just extending that. Anyway, I'm going to stop the analysis for today. I don't want the video to be too long, and I also have to practice editing it and make sure that it's good. So I appreciate you watching the video. Make sure you take the time to check out that live trade that I did. I definitely want to do that more often. Leave a like, comment, subscribe. Let me know how these videos have helped you. If at all, if you notice I missed something throughout this analysis, go ahead and let me know in the comments. I won't be trading tomorrow or Thursday because I've got some work, but I look forward to seeing all of you on Friday. And until then, have a great rest of your day.